never don't care, we cannot falter in the battle, we're tried and true. Indiana, we're all.
Welcome to the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show on the Girly True Sports Network. I'm the co-host, Mike Goodpaster, here with the legend. I was going to say former Hoosier legend. There's nothing former about this Hoosier legend. Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
I got one question.
What?
Do we know, is the mop lady still alive?
I don't know, Steve. Probably if she was still alive. She'd
Say
probably be in a
not.
nursing home.
That was back in the 80s that thing was being played when I was
The
playing.
90s too.
Well, yeah, that was on the show in the 1970s, late 70s, early 80s when I was played. So I died. Yeah, she's going to be
118.
something like that.
Still getting Social Security.
Still getting Social Security. One way or another.
All right, Steve. Tonight, Indiana plays Penn State. But first, we're going to look at another head coaching candidate. And this one is one that, from everything I've read, everybody I've talked to, seems like he might be interested. He turned down the Michigan job last year, turned down interviewing for the Louisville job. But from everything I hear, the Hoosiers are interested in bringing in Scott Drew, the Baylor basketball coach. And it seems that Scott Drew is actually a little bit interested also, Steve. What's your opinion on Scott Drew?
Well, I read up on him and took a deeper dive into him. He's 20, went there in 2023 to Baylor, I think it was 2022, 2023, right around that.
Around 21.
2002 or 2003.
He won it in 21, Steve.
Oh, okay. Hang on. So he's got a over 20-year lifespan at Baylor. It's kind of his home. He's done well there. He's put the team in the tournament multiple times. Took over a really scandal-ridden program where Dave Bliss, a former IU Knight disciple, was down there being head coach, and they had a situation where one player was murdered by another player. Actually, bad, messy situation. They got rid of Dave. They cleaned that mess up, and basically Scott had to come in and rebuild the program. He stuck with them. They stuck with him. It seems like a really good marriage. Texas, you said it earlier in our pre-production talks. It's Texas. Baylor's got a lot of money behind that basketball program, probably at least as much as Indiana does behind there. So he's able to recruit as he wants to. As a coaching style, he's pretty much offensive minded. Likes to put points on the board. Likes to get his teams up and down the court. Generally known to be a little suspect in defense through what's perceived to be a little bit of a lack of bench coaching ability, kind of an inability to change course or tact in the middle of a game. They cited it in the research I did several times where, like, Iowa State or Kansas or other Pac-12 or Big 12 teams were able to beat them by simply throwing different things at them late in the game, and it didn't seem that Baylor was able to make the changes necessary to execute it, which we were also pleased with what Coach Knight was an expert at bench coaching. So I think that's critical, especially in the Big Ten, which is a pretty smart conference, along with this SEC in terms of how they play the game. But overall, he's kept that program clean. Of course, cheating went away with the advent of nil, so that's not a problem. But there was never any history of him cheating. He's a Hoosier. He went to Vincennes. He's from the Vincennes area. Valparaiso. I'm sorry, Vincennes, Valparaiso. One's north and one's south. I know. I just don't know which is which. Vincennes has Licks ice cream. Best ice cream shop there is in Indiana. If you ever go down to Vincennes, go down to the town square and go to Licks ice cream, homemade, unbelievable.
I think it's Flavors in Aurora, Indiana.
It's what Flavors?
Flavors in Aurora, Indiana.
Licks is known all over the state, so I've never heard of Flavors, but that's a good name.
I've never heard of Licks. It sounds like a strip club.
Yeah, that's a good name for a strip club, no doubt.
I don't know. I don't know if
I
I
think
would.
that
I've never
I
been to a strip
question
club, but I don't think
why
I'd go there
Scott.
to lick anything. Go ahead, Steve.
I question why Scott would want to leave Baylor, having committed 22 years and an NCAA championship. He's got an NCAA championship. He has 2 Elite Eight appearances. Both times in his Elite Eight appearances, he lost to the eventual champion. 2011, I think it was, to Duke. In 2000, whatever year Kentucky won, he lost to Kentucky. Both teams went on to win the tournament. He has a ring on his finger. That part of his credentials in his dossier or resume would be a breath of fresh air to Indiana. He's got tournament experience. He knows how to coach. I think his inability to adjust his coaching style. Now, again, that's a few games that were pointed out, but that's kind of seems to be a general flaw when people when asking what's the big problem with Scott Drew. It's his inability to maybe be as strong a bench coach as one would think he is with that much experience. He builds good players. He got used the nil and the portal really well to strengthen his teams and stay competitive. Big 12 is not a cheesy basketball conference. You know that. It's very competitive. A lot of great teams in there. And, so everything I've seen about Scott Drew is very positive. I think he would be a good choice, probably right up there with your Drake coach. And I don't know why he would want to leave Baylor, truthfully. If he was like a Dusty May, having not been away from Indiana for a long period of time, that's one thing. But he's got roots in where's Baylor, in Dallas,
Waco.
Oh God, no, Jesus! I've been to Waco, Texas. Not a good place.
That's what Waco, Texas says about you, Steve.
I know that feeling.
Risley's been here. Not a good guy.
Yeah.
All Hell No says I would be satisfied with Drew. And Brian Wetters says nothing wrong with Scott Drew, but I'd rather have a younger coach.
He's only what? He's born in 1970. He's only 55 years old. He's not that old. Good God.
Oh, hell no. He would check a lot of boxes for a lot of folks if he would be interested in a job. It sounds like he's interested in the job. I don't know, Steve. I'm not blown away by Scott Drew.
No, I'm not blown away by him, but
I mean, it wouldn't be a terrible hire.
No, he wouldn't. That's what I'm saying. He would. I mean, he's got a more than acceptable coaching record at Baylor. He's got a national championship ring on his finger. How many coaches have that?
Not many.
I mean, we haven't had one since Bob Knight.
Well, I mean, Danny Hurley at UConn stealing them all as of late. I'll tell you, the one thing, a good thing, I mean, when you look back at what happened at Baylor, it was terrible. But Dave Bliss, who was not a good guy, was fired on August 22nd, 2003. And that's really late for a coaching change. Practice was only 2 months away. Basically, the entire program was left in shambles. Yeah, the program was left in shambles. But after Drew's first season, they had self-imposed probation until 2006. When you look at this, look at the fact that he's been here for 20 years. He's built this program from about as low as any program could be outside of maybe SMU football in the early 80s. Yeah. They win a national championship. I mean, the thing about the game coaching, I mean, you could find a couple games with Bob Knight where he didn't do the greatest job coaching. The 75 regional final against Kentucky, he admitted that himself. So just because somebody brings up 2 or 3 games, because let's face it, he is 21-10, I think, lifetime in the NCAA tournament. So he could coach on the biggest stage.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't have any reason really to knock him out. I just don't. I don't know if he's the best choice. If we're ranking guys we've talked about from 1 to 10, I don't think he's number 1, but he's not number 10. Well, and I definitely would say he's in the top half.
We haven't covered 10 yet, Steve.
There's other guys we've talked about that are not as good as Scott Drew. I like his tenure. 22 years at Baylor tells me it's a good bet at his age. He's going to finish out his career at Indiana. He's got a strong enough coaching tournament record, putting teams in. He's got a pedigree right here at Bloomington. Needs to be dusted off and polished up. And I think that he has the ability to do that. He apparently is very well liked by his team. He's a very positive oriented coach. Looks for players to produce the way they want to, as long as it's within his game structure or his team structure. Gives them freedom, gives them liberalism, focuses more on offense, which any college player is going to like, as opposed to the grunt work of playing good defense. Although, again, there's no complaints about his defense. It's just
they're not a terrible defensive team. It's just not the emphasis.
It's not his strength. I mean, his strength is teamwork, culture, offensive minded, and like I said, well, how many tournaments? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
He's 21 and 10 lifetime.
14 tournament appearances in 20-something years with a program he took over that was self-imposed on suspension for the first 2 or 3 years.
Robert Stewart says he's in his top 4. I don't think he's in my top 4, Steve.
He's in my top 4.
He's not in my top 4.
I like the fact that he's a Hoosier. He's an Indiana guy, but he's not a Hoosier. So I think he understands Indiana high school basketball, knows what kind of players look for. I mean, Scott Drew himself was an Indiana high school legend.
He was.
Then he hit the last shot against somebody to.
Oh, Steve, it was Bryce Drew.
Well, that was Bryce Drew.
His brother.
Were they related?
At Valpo. Yeah, there is his brother. So yeah, Steve, they are related. Are you like Kamala Harris today?
No word salad.
Brian Wetter said we need some defensive acumen for these youngsters. Number one, we'll have to explain to the youngsters and Steve what acumen is.
Do we need defensive acumen? I mean,
you just asked me after I said they were brothers. You just asked if they were related.
Okay. Well,
okay. I just bringing that up. I mean,
I thought it was Scott Drew. I knew one of the Drews because their dad was the coach of the team.
Yeah, and
Homer
Scott
Drew
was the coach at Valparaiso for a year or two before he got at Baylor.
It's like there's a bunch of Drews floating around Indiana doing stuff. That I knew. That's all I need to know.
All right, Steve.
That was back in the time when disco was out, and I was really into disco.
Yeah, I just don't see why he would want to leave, other than the fact he has been there for over 20 years. And sometimes places can get a little stale. You want a new challenge, you can come back home. And like I said, Louisville and Michigan, I don't even think he was interested in talking to last year, but it does seem like he's interested here. Now, how about this? I was watching Kent Sterling the other day because when I get really bored and I want to laugh, I watch Kent. And it's not a shot on Kent.
You must have been really bored.
We're friends with Kent. Kent's been on the show a lot of times before, but I like Kent too. He's goofy. That's why I watch him. But he made a claim that IU's already picked their head coach. They're just not telling anybody yet. Do you think there's any validity to that, or is Kent just hoping?
Well, given the fact they just hired a search committee within the last week, I'd say that poo-poos that pretty quickly. If IU just spent the money to hire a search committee, a team, to find a viable candidates for the program, I would say I doubt that they've picked one that quickly. I think that's blowing smoke out of somebody's rear end. But that being said, the way Indiana operates with its basketball, it wouldn't surprise me if it came out to be true. I don't think it's true.
I bet Quinn Buckner has already picked a new head coach, and it will be, wait for it, Juwan
Howard. I think Quinn's out of the mix right now.
Juwan Howard. He's a new IU basketball.
I think Quinn, Quinn and Mike, they had Indiana's best interest at heart. They're not guys that don't like Indiana.
They did not have Indiana's best interest at heart.
They thought
they took a man who was unqualified, made him the head coach. They both got a lot of money.
I don't think there's anybody that bleeds any more IU red than Quinn Buckner or Mike Woodson. Okay. I don't think there is.
Well, then he should have went out and did a search for the best coach
weren't qualified to make the call.
And
they weren't qualified to coach the team. That's all. I mean, that happens.
Steve, if somebody is out for the best interest
of IU, I'm not going to piss on my teammates and my family.
I'm going to piss on him right now.
Well, then
I'll piss on Quinn Buckner all day. I don't like Quinn Buckner. I think he's an asshole. He's arrogant. He's pompous. I mean, I yell at everybody, who are you? But that's not the point. I didn't pick out Mike Woodson to be the head basketball coach. And I'm sorry, when you don't interview anybody else, it's hard for me to believe that you had the best interests of Indiana basketball at heart.
I think he thought Woodson would be a good fit. I mean, he thought
There's
wrong. He made two mistakes.
no.
He thought and he thought
Mike
wrong.
Woodson was his friend, and he gave him the job.
Yes, he was. Yes.
Oh, hell
yes,
no.
all the things.
Oh, hell no. He says, LOL.
I don't think he did it out of.
Well, you let me say what? Oh, you know what? There's a lot of people that just have to listen, Steve. And they just think I'm yelling, oh, hell no, to disagree with you. But that's what the person that just made the comment, he says, LOL, I hope Quinn's out of the mix. I think he has done like Mayor June's the president of the board.
Yeah, like I said, I have a good feeling that Quinn is out of the mix.
Brian says Quinn took a good risk and it backfired in the story. This is not a place where you need to take a risk, though. If you don't interview any other coaches, that's a problem. We got a new comment from Bob Zerkley. Can a coach recruit like Knight did and win today? Probably not. What do you think, Steve?
If you're a good enough coach.
Yeah, but I think what he's talking about is if you're recruiting guys, like Isaiah Thomas, if this was the way it was in 1980, he'd had 1 year at IU in 1980, and then he would have moved on and went to the NBA probably. Yeah, but you know what I mean?
Remember that Knight recruited Isaiah off of a championship ring in '76, and Quinn Buckner and all those guys. I mean, that's how he recruited IU.
5 years before.
For Woody,
4 years
or Isaiah. Before. What?
That was 4 years before. He recruited Isaiah's mom because from everything I heard, Isaiah wasn't big on Indiana, and his mom told him it was cool in there. Oh, here we go. We get one of these. Brad, Grandstaff, Dane Fife as coach.
Not going to happen.
Answer me this, Brad. Why would you want Dane Fife as the coach? And this is an honest question.
Why did he not get back into coaching right away?
Yeah.
He's got a good track record, record. He was
does he?
Well, he was under what's his name, Izzo, for how many years, and then went to IU. I mean, yeah, his resume's got to look good.
It doesn't.
I'm friends with Dane Fife. I mean, I talked to Dane.
All right, so this is my thing. He was the head coach, I guess, at Indiana Purdue Fort Wayne for 6 years, and then he was an assistant coach to Tom Izzo. I don't see where that makes you highly qualified to be the. It
made him highly qualified to get another assisting job somewhere and stay in coaching.
Yeah, at Purdue Fort Wayne, his career record is 82-97. So if he would have done really good at Purdue Fort Wayne, I could see it maybe. Ryan Leonard.
You got to look at a lot of these comments. A lot of people are on my page with Quinn.
You need a manager of NIL today. Different world. Quinn had his shot and missed. Yeah, and it's cost us big time. Robert says high school recruits are hard to find with the portal. They're not hard to find with the portal. It's just nobody's looking for them because of the portal, Robert. I mean, they're out there, and I think the problem is this. Some asshole like me, if you went out and recruited high school kids to try to be good 3 or 4 years later, I'm being there screaming for your ass to be fired after the first year.
That's the problem, is that players won't stick around long enough to build a team like Knight built the team. Our team was built over 4 years.
Yeah. But everybody's team was built over 4 years back then.
Right.
You had the occasional Moses Malone.
The team was built over 4 years. 87 team was all. They were all on Knight built all those teams.
The only one that really wasn't was 87 because you had Dean Garrett and Keith Smart. So that was their first year with the team. They were JUCO players.
They were JUCO players that moved in. Yeah.
But the rest of the team was built over 4 years.
Yeah, and that was Knight's MO. No, do I think that's going to fly today? I don't think it'll ever get done because of nil. Because the important guys like a Risley, a sixth man, or somebody that comes in. Don't shake your head. I mean, I wasn't a starter.
What? You said an important guy.
Well, a guy that was important enough that
I know what you're saying, Steve.
You didn't want to lose me on that team because I was a good, hey, we got to get Kitchell out of the game because he's in foul trouble. Risley won't screw things up for us. Put him in.
Robert
guys
says
like me would say, screw this. I don't want to be that guy for Indiana. I'll just take off and go to Wisconsin or Iowa or somewhere else and start and play. And say, okay, that's the problem with the nil and the portal right now. That's why you can't build a team like that, in my opinion.
No, you can't. I mean, It just you probably could, but you would have to have an administration that is very good with you having a year or two of struggling.
I'll tell you what I want, Mike. And
Then you're still going to lose the best players to the NBA or to another team for more money if you don't watch it.
you know, I think losing players to the NBA. You know, you got to look at a guy like Ballo. Ballo would be trying the NBA right now, except he's a 5th-year senior, and he's getting paid probably $1 million a year by.
I don't think Paulo's going to play in the NBA unless he
No,
loses
but he
weight.
would try. He would go take some money. He's got to look like a guy that's very happy going to class.
Why do you say that? Have you seen him go to
He's
class?
not very happy running them down the basketball court. What makes you think he'd
be
the
happy?
Valentine Hall for like 101?
See. Bob says my thought was a coach that knew Indiana high school, but if he knew it, why was Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne always 6 or 7 games under 500? Because if you know it, you're going to find good enough players to be able to do something with it, I would think. Balin Gardner. Good day, gentlemen. God bless and go IU. We've got Brad, or is it Brad? Yeah, Brad. Left Michigan for IU to play ball, was one of the toughest players to play at IU, was there during Knight's firing, led IU to a championship game, coached under one of the best for 10 years, left MSU for IU once again. He is an IU guy. Hold on. Understands the culture and what it means. So did Mike Woodson. Not a young guy, but Mike Woodson.
You know, Brad, I got to say this. Everything that you said about Dane is true, and I know Dane personally. Yeah. But it doesn't make him a good basketball coach. I mean, basketball coaches being able to relate to everything you just said to other players and get other players to understand what you're saying and to be able to communicate in the way they want to receive information. You know, I've said this before. The greatest thing that I ever got told about Bob Knight was Kent Benson when I was being recruited and Kent was driving me around. And we were getting ready to go in Assembly Hall to meet Coach after taking a tour of the campus and everything. And he said, now listen, you're going to go in here. And the one thing I'm going to tell you, you better stick and learn to this, is with Bob Knight, don't listen to how he says things, listen to what he's saying. If you get hung up listening to how he said things, you're never going to make it here. You'll die instantly. Yeah. And all the players that left, they could never get past that hurdle of listening to how he was delivering information. Now, in this day and age, with the opportunities for players, with nil money, with portals, you better understand how to deliver information to a way these kids want to hear it. It's not about you anymore because the kids in college playing are making about as much money a year as you are. You know, and some of the best players, if they don't like what they're hearing.
And how about this, Steve? This is the thing that gets me, though.
Alford was never considered, I don't think.
Hold on. The other thing is he's an IU guy that understands IU culture. IU hasn't had a culture in a quarter of a century.
No, yeah, you're right. They haven't had a culture since Knight was in his heyday.
Yeah, they remember Knight's culture.
They're still looking for Knight's culture. Knight's culture is dead.
I don't even know. I think they gave up looking for it. Bob Zirkley says, did Alford already get eliminated? Right now, Alford is trying to keep from getting eliminated at Nevada.
No, Nevada. Yeah, he's trying to keep his job there.
And why do we want another IU guy?
Yeah, well,
I mean, how many IU coaches or former IU players have been successful coaches?
I used to like Steve Alford until he dicked me over on playing Sherwood Country Club out here. He was a member. I ran into him at his second club, Calabasas Country Club, and me and my wife were playing. We were thinking about joining and run into him. And we're like talking. And I said, hey, I belong to Woodland Hills. Why don't I take you over to Woodland Hills? You swap out and take me over to Sherwood. I love to play Sherwood. It's a really ritzy course. They used to play the Skins game there at Sherwood. And never heard from him. Called him several times. Said, hey, when are we going to play Sherwood? Now, son of a bitch never called back. So,
he did come on the show, though.
Yeah, he did do that one time. It was always hard.
So maybe don't pick on him.
No, Steve, I think is. If I was Steve Alford, I wouldn't touch IU with a 10-foot pole now. They've been shitty to Steve when he was in his heyday, and Steve's been shitty to IU since then. So it's not. It would be a terrible marriage. He would screw up because I think it's 50-50 on Alford anyway.
Yeah. I've seen him coach in person, so have you, and I'm not overly impressed.
I've been to his practices. His practices were dysfunctional.
I saw the practice before the first 4 when he was at UCLA, I think like 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I saw him coach a game, and I think the only thing he took away from Coach Knight was to scream at officials. But what the hell?
Yeah, I think Steve would not be a candidate that is in the mix any way, shape, or form.
All right. Now, do we have anything else on the coaching search? And anybody watching or listening right now, you can pick out who we will go through tomorrow.
Let me just say this. Can I say this briefly, real quickly? I looked at Nick Cronin. The more I looked at Nick, the more I liked Nick.
His name's Mick.
Mick Cronin. Nick. I don't know. You get caught up in schematics.
Schematics.
I don't think Bob Knight knew my first name.
He
He
probably
just said, "Asshole, get over here."
Yeah,
I think he thought that was my first name.
Mm-hmm. We all do.
That's okay. The more I looked at Mick, the more I kind of liked him.
Oh, good for you.
Guy's a winner. He's done well everywhere he's gone. He's a fiery coach, which makes him ruffle feathers. I'm okay with ruffling feathers. You ruffle my feathers every time I wake up at 3 a.m. with sweat and thinking of your damn name.
I never ruffle anybody.
I got to get on the radio with television or whatever we're doing with Goodpaster again. He ruffled my feathers. So, but I get over it.
Usually at 3 a.m, all I get is a text from Steve with a little "I'm thinking about you" and then the XOXO.
Let's see, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, I got to remind him 14 times over the 24 hours.
And I'll tell you what, Mick is really not happy out here because the UCLA faithful are very ambivalent about him. He's been to the Final Four with a team with UCLA. He's been a winning coach everywhere he's gone. I don't think Mick's in my top 5 or top 50%, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's somebody that name pops up, and I think it'd be a legitimate name popping up. He's from the Cincinnati area. Bloomington, fairly close, a lot closer than UCLA.
A couple hours.
Although he's starting to show more and more success. If I was Mick right now, I'd ride out UCLA as long as I could now that he's in the Big Ten and see what he can get done. If that would be my suggestion to Mick.
All right, so I've got a couple I want to do in the next 2 days to finish the week. I want to do.
Now we've gone from Nick to Mick to Mitt.
I want to go.
Way to go, Brian.
I want to go Mitt. Brad Brownell tomorrow, the Clemson coach. And the next day I want to go Grant McCaslin.
Tomorrow?
Huh?
We're doing a show again tomorrow?
I'll do it by myself if you want to do it with me.
You'd fail miserably.
Well, yeah, this is the only show I do is with you.
I think you do betting shows, and how do you do on those? I don't see you living in a big palace and
pretty damn good. You've never seen my house, Steve. Hell no, says I like Cronin
Google too. Maps. I've got Google Maps.
I like Cronin too. It's a $300,000 house, but every house is anymore. I like Cronin too. He has a great winning percentage, a great coach. I'm probably not a top 4 for me, but a top 6. Brian Wetters says Mitt Cronin is my choice, irrespective of age. And Google says Coach Drew is top 5. I think he is too.
Yeah,
I don't know that he would be. I don't think he'd be in my top 5. I think it's also possible. If Kent Sterling knows something and they've already picked a guy, I would think it might be him. Robert says UCLA is the same boat as us, searching for culture. They haven't. They play hard-nosed defense. Nick's always got that for a culture. They play hard. They just can't shoot that well.
Last home game, who were they playing last home game? I can't think who it was. They played.
Was it the game where they honored Bill Walton?
Yeah, they had Bill Walton.
The Ohio State game.
I went and put my tie-dye T-shirt on and watched the game. Came on right after the IU game. Purdue. Who they play? UCLA and who?
I just said Ohio State. You ignored me.
Ohio State. That's right.
You even called me and said, "You want to watch UCLA and Ohio State? People got tie-dye shirts on."
Is that how I said it? Did I say it like that?
Pretty much. I don't even know why you changed the tone of voice. It sounds the same, only just a little deeper.
Big guy.
Sure.
Big voice.
Okay. But All right. So Brad Brownell or Brownell tomorrow, the Clemson coach. Steve, how's that sound?
Brad who?
You don't even know who it is, do you, Steve?
No, I have no clue. Where's he at?
Well, it's kind of like when Woodson was the basketball coach here. Well, he used to play here. It's okay. Yeah, Brad Brownell is the coach at Clemson. He's 56. He's 450 wins, 453, 279. He took Clemson to the Elite Eight last year. They just upset number 2 Duke. He is 68 and 27 over the last few years. They're currently second in the ACC, 23rd in Ken Palm. Brownell is a Indiana native. He was a former teammate of Calbert Chaney in high school at Evansville. So these teams play at a high level. They're really good offensively. I think Brad Brownell is a possibility. I was wanting to do a show tomorrow on Mick Cronin, but somebody done brought Mick Cronin up. So.
Oh, we can go. I can go to depth with Nick Cronin. I just skipped the surface on him.
I don't know why you don't follow the script, Steve.
I didn't know we had a script.
We don't, Steve. We've done this show for 10 years. And we've never had a script. But it's always been the same thing over and over again. And we're going to talk to right now. Do you want to go? Do you want to do a show tomorrow or do you want to take the day off?
No, we can do a show tomorrow. What the hell? I got nothing better. What is tomorrow? Thursday? I'll do a show tomorrow.
Sure. I don't know what day it is.
Hey, let's talk briefly about tonight. IU Penn State.
I was going to until you started screaming.
All right, take over. You're the one who did the betting profile.
Did you watch it?
We all know that thanks to the Grilling Truth.
Did you watch it? Did you watch it?
The betting site of internet.
Did you watch it?
Perfect.
Did you watch it?
No, I don't gamble.
You're an asshole. You can't just watch it for a little bit. So
I don't gamble.
That's because you can't figure out how to read. All right, we got Penn State and Indiana tonight. Indiana won the earlier game, 77-71. Steve, I think it was early January in Happy Valley. What do you think? Does Indiana get it done tonight?
I know you offered people to take the 6.5 points.
I said take the 5.5 points. The Indiana Hoosiers tonight.
Well, it's 6.5 now.
Awesome. Well, it was 5.5. You should have listened to me at 5.5.
Okay. I looked a lot at the first game. Penn State had a lot of things go wrong. They had some players not playing well. It's a very bad shooting night for
Steve,
them.
they're like 15 and 13. This happened a lot.
Oh, they've won their last 2 games. They're on a little bit of a streak again.
Yeah, the Nebraska was impressive, but beating Minnesota, it was at Minnesota though. But they are playing better.
They're playing better. They come in. They've done well in Assembly Hall. Have we ever beat Penn State at Assembly Hall?
I don't know.
I'm sure we have. But
I'm sure we have because Penn State's been in the Big Ten. They got it approved in 1990, and they've been in since like 1993.
So
I'm pretty sure Bob Knight might have beat them once or twice.
This is a game that's all on IU's shoulders. How bad they want to dance. This will tell you tonight, because this game. Penn State is not the opponent here. Indiana's ability to play to their capabilities and play for something, some pride. Something for Woodson, something for the university, something for themselves. Because if they lose this game, their season's over. They're riding out 3 games and maybe an NIT bid, maybe not. But if they win, they
playing? I don't think. Yeah, the Palestra is where they played the last game.
Yeah, they're playing at Assembly Hall.
No, he's talking about the first game was played at the Palestra. We didn't really play them on their home court.
Oh, no, we played them in Philadelphia.
At the Palestra.
At the Palestra, yeah. One of those gyms that everybody goes nuts about East Coast basketball. They play in gyms smaller than – we got 10 high school gyms bigger than the Palestra.
Yeah, you got 3 in my county.
Yeah.
And there's only 3 schools in my county.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you this. My concern about this game is the Hoosiers are coming off a massive win. When's the last time we won 2 games in a row? But they're coming off a big win. They feel really good about themselves.
Yeah.
And now they got to play Penn State. Now, Penn State at one point lost 11 out of 12, but they dealt with injuries down the stretch. And they lost a bunch of close games, including a 5-point loss to Michigan State on the road and a 4-point defeat to Michigan in Ann Arbor. So the Nittany Lions, I think, are better than their record indicates. They lost by 6 at the Palestra in early January. The Hoosiers shot 40% from three-point range. That is rare. Penn State was only 3 for 21 from downtown, 10 for 18 from the free throw line. And I think it's worth noting that Malik Renew didn't play for Indiana, and Puff Johnson did play for Penn State. But regardless, I don't know about this game because I know I bet it, I recommended it, but especially with the point spread, because to me, I mean, Indiana's done nothing to make me believe that they could put 2 games in a row together. I mean, we haven't seen it very much. Hell, in the last 2 years, we haven't seen it very much.
You know, Mike, what scares me is just that I don't take this wrong, people, but I'm afraid Woodson's going to try and start coaching again. And when I say coaching, I mean he coached right against Purdue. He got the right lineup in. He substituted perfectly. He did everything that we should have expected him to do for 4 years, and we wouldn't be in the coaching search we're in right now. And I'm afraid I'm going to see Ballo and Mbako back in the starting lineup and back to where we were. And my attitude right now for Indiana is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And after Purdue, I would say what they were doing and what they did against Purdue says they ain't broke with that mentality and lineup that they had.
How about this, Steve? What we could do is we could have everybody pick the score that wants to. If you pick the score properly, you nail it, you'll get a Steve Risley autograph.
No, I don't do autographs.
Because you don't have to, because nobody asked.
No, they don't, and I don't give them.
But now you can give one out. You don't want to? What if Robert wanted your autograph? We've known Robert forever. Or Brian.
Robert you know what? You can go to eBay and you can get one of those cards that I get letters in the mail all the time. Will you sign these 15 cards? They're for my family. Bullshit. They're all on eBay.
No. What do they sell for on eBay? A Steve Risley card.
Somebody bought one for $20 one time. What a dumbass. Could have mailed it to me and I'd have signed it for free.
You just said you didn't sign autographs. I figured maybe that's why he did.
I do for that.
You're an asshole sometimes.
Well, I get that ASPCA.
So if a little kid comes up, Steve,
yeah, I get that little kid. I get that little kid. My dad gave me the set, and I'm trying to get all the signatures.
Yeah, because Dad wants to sell a Steve Risley autograph to pay his way through fucking college, Steve. I don't think so.
It's like that ASPCA commercial. You know, they do the dogs all sitting there.
Robert, I don't even bring up the two bigs at the same time anymore because everybody knows that now. Yeah. But me, you, and Steve have been saying it all year long.
Yeah.
But it's just me and you, really, Robert. And Steve
I'm just afraid if he goes back to that, we're in trouble. If he stays away from that, like he did against Purdue, we're okay. We'll beat Penn State. Hopefully. We're a better basketball team, but if it's coached right and the right personnel's employed at the right times.
Yeah, we might be. We'll see. I mean, it's really hard to say we're better than most anybody just because we're like, what?
I tell you what, I still, and I know you hate this when I say this.
I hate most things you say, Steve.
I know. I still blame more than I blame Mike. I blame his damn assistants.
Yes. Wait a second. That is the dumbest statement I've ever heard. Who hired his assistants? Who hired the assistants?
Hang on.
He hired assistants that were yes men.
Wait. When I was playing, all the assistants were standing up with specific instructions to it. People said, how can so many assistants be up yelling? Because they all were telling us one specific thing to do. And as a player, you were trained to process that thing. These guys just sit on the bench with their thumbs up their rear.
What they're supposed to do. Mike Woodson's ego is
not in this day and age.
Mike Woodson wants yes men.
Offenses and defenses are far too complicated to just.
You cannot blame the assistant coaches without blaming the man who hired them, and then keeps them.
I can't disagree with that. Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
That's like getting a spanking on national TV, huh?
Yeah. Okay.
If it was on TV,
I stand by my ground.
You stand by your ground?
Yeah, I'm disappointed.
Wouldn't you stand on your ground?
I don't even know the names of any of the assistant coaches. What's that tell you?
One of them's named like Rosemond or something.
I don't know the names of any of the assistant coaches in Indiana. I'm a former player, I don't know the names of any of the assistants that I use.
Why would you know the names of the assistants when the head coach is getting fired? The assistants are going with him.
I don't know. I don't
He
know.
had Dane Fife and Thad Matta helping him.
No, we cannot. No, Robert, we cannot have two bigs at the same time. It does not work for us simply because our bigs don't play hard consistently. And Bottle's got a talent of being able to plug the rim. He can block shots. He can do crap around. He's a good defender around the rim, not even around the bucket. I'm talking around the rim. You got to keep him a foot to 2 feet away from the basketball. Otherwise, he becomes defensively ineffective because he won't work hard.
Roberto says, I think he promised minutes that has cost him half the season. That is true. Brian Wetters, I blame the coaching staff for not breathing fire following Illinois' loss at home. I blame this. I blame whoever brought the players in, because if players at that age are competitive and want to win, they don't really need somebody to breathe fire into them. It's kind of like when a head coach gives a big halftime speech or a pregame speech. That speech is forgotten as soon as the first play is made. So this is about getting guys that are self-motivated. When you are recruiting Ballo, you already know he's out of shape. Doesn't that tell you that maybe? And I mean, Ballo's played really good for IU this year, but I think he only hits about half of his potential. And when you see a dude that's overweight, why do you want to bring him onto your team? That's how you set culture, and that's not a good culture to have.
I agree wholeheartedly, and that's what will change. I hope that's what Scott goes after and changes. He just makes that change.
What are we doing the show about Juwan Howard?
I don't know.
Robert says he don't listen to his coaches. I don't think that the coaches even give suggestions most of the time.
I think when you got a nil player making about somewhere between half to $1 million a year, I don't know what he makes. I'm total guessing. He may get nothing for all I know. I don't know. I doubt it, but I'm sure he's getting the highest paid player on the team. Him and Mbako would be my guess. But that's total guess. I don't know.
Brian says, in this day and age, we have entitled players. No, Brian, in this day and age, we have an entire populace that is entitled. So it's hard to find guys that aren't entitled. But I can tell you this. Duke did it with Cooper Flagg and Concanopel. Both of those guys play their asses off. And the interesting thing with Flagg is the other day he made a comment in an interview how he would really enjoy coming back to Duke for a second season. Now, he probably won't, because they're going to show him what the first pick in the NBA draft makes.
Where's that, Memphis?
Who cares? I mean, it's the first pick of the NBA draft. You're making pretty good money.
Well, I would guess Cooper Flagg, if he goes to the NBA next year, he's taking a pay cut.
No, he's not, Steve.
Doesn't the NBA have minimums, maximums on weekly pay?
Well, they have it, but you're talking about the first pick in the NBA draft.
Well, he'll eventually get the money, but he's better off staying in college. Why do you think that Galloway's on the 6-year plan? Christ. Where else can you make that kind of money your first 6 years in college?
Well, I guarantee you this. Right now, the rookie contract, if you're the first overall pick, is $13 million a year and $57 million over 4 years. And that's based on the salary cap from last year. So he's going to make guaranteed $60 million for 4 years. I don't think the NIL is going to give him that. Plus, he's still going to get endorsements, which are probably even going to be bigger, because Cooper Flagg is a dude that could make the NBA relevant, at least when he plays. He's the Caitlin Clark of the NBA. That's how far the NBA's fallen. That he is the
matching up against a woman's player now.
Yeah, because she's the most famous player.
She's the most valuable basketball player in the country right now.
The WNBA right now is going to be bigger. They're going to get bigger TV ratings within the next 2 years, because you're going to get that Juju girl from USC. You got Caitlin Clark. And this is what you have. You have tension when they play, because you have racial tension, which I want to watch. That's why, when Jerry Cooney fought Larry Holmes, the whole world watched.
There's
racial
that one,
tension's not bad. It don't make you a racist.
She's from I think Stanford or somewhere, that tall, good-looking blonde from the Lakers.
She's not good looking, and she doesn't.
Oh no! I live out here. She's
You're not talking about the 6'7" girl, Cameron Brink or something.
Oh yeah, she's turned into a model.
Oh God, no, she's not, Steve. What she she is a WNBA player that is not a lesbian and is not butt ass ugly. She's not beautiful.
Well, they've turned her into a supermodel. She is gonna bring people into the seats.
Dude, Steve, she's not a supermodel. She ain't nobody bringing into the seats to see this. Hold on, we're gonna pull the picture up. I'm sorry, but the face is not beautiful. She doesn't look half as good as like Robert does. Robert should be a supermodel.
But it is funny. It is funny that we compare everybody now to Caitlin Clark.
Well, yeah, Cameron
Brink. And then you know who we do next? Charles Barkley.
Oh, we got a baby's picture. That is not beautiful, homie.
I don't know. It's not bad.
That's
not a
not
good
beautiful
picture ever either.
That is not beautiful. If you're beautiful, it doesn't matter what the picture is.
That's an old picture.
It's not an old picture. This is from like 2 days ago, Steve.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's move on. I'm feeling like a pervert. I'm feeling like a pervert right now. Move on.
You are a pervert. I've known you for years.
I just said she's a valuable entity to the WNBA.
You're only a pervert if she's under the age of like 18.
Hey, Mike, you remember the old adage? If you ever watched Mad Men,
God.
Sex sells.
Oh, I thought you were going to use that if she's old enough. Never mind. I thought that was where you were going. I was going to let you go too because there's no FCC.
Christ. No, I'm not going there. It's a family show.
Hold on. Of course, now we get caught.
Grace Berger just got whacked, unfortunately. I thought they'd keep her around.
They need to check some of those players' luggage at the door.
All right.
And I know Robert is the president of the Grace Berger fan club.
Yeah, Did she get picked
up? Did she get picked up by anybody, Robert?
I liked Grace Berger. She was a Hoosier and a great player at Indiana. She wore
Grace
number 34.
I thought Grace Berger was something that they had at McDonald's like once every 2 or 3 years. That was not in good taste, was it? Neither are McDonald's hamburger stuff, so it's okay. So, Indiana, Penn State tonight. Who's going to win? Indiana or Penn State? We got more live listeners now than we've had all week, Steve.
What is wrong with you people? Jesus, don't you have lives?
Why would you say that, Steve?
I don't know.
We're sitting here doing the talking, so we have no life either.
I know.
Hey, somebody new. Jay Minton, 71. I think the hire will be out of left field, like Signetti. I don't think Signetti.
No, you know what? I think Jay's right. I kind of think it's going to be somebody we haven't talked about.
Oh, Grace Berger is at Minnesota.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Bob and Robert confirmed it, and then Brian double confirmed it because we are your home of Grace Berger information.
Knock it off. I like Grace Berger.
I know that's why we're the.
I think the fever.
This sounds like a burger you would eat at church, doesn't it?
God, Jesus, what is wrong with you?
Dude, if you want, my wife will be home from work shortly and she can give you a list.
No, I don't want to. No. I liked Grace Berger. She was a valuable asset to the Fever basketball team.
Was she?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't watch the WNBA.
She promoted culture and goodwill.
The hell? She's supposed to be a basketball player.
What kills me about Grace Berger is when the Fever were struggling without Caitlin Clark, nobody gave a shit about the WNBA. They kept her around. Now all of a sudden the WNBA is the hottest thing in sports, and Caitlin Clark is the most sought after basketball player in sports in basketball. Now they don't need Grace Berger. Piss on the Fever for dumping her. You know, she stuck around and did things for that program and organization and kept it afloat. She was a hometown hero.
Hey, Steve. She appeared in 11 games last year.
And her coach got fired for that, too.
That coach got fired because she was an idiot. And I'm not saying, hold on here. Brian Wetters. I never understood why she wasn't played by Indiana. Why she didn't play at Indiana?
Talents were.
Because that coach sucked anyways. Because I think Grace Berger is good enough to play there. I agree with Robert.
I think Cronin will be high floor, medium ceiling. I think you're right.
Yeah,
Jay. I think he's high floor, I think
if
our
you get him,
expectations would never be matched with him.
yeah, if you get him, you're going to always make the tournament, but you're very
That's about all you're
going
to do.
anything. Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's his history, whether it was
Yeah,
Cincinnati
that's
or UCLA.
great observation.
And Robert says that Grace Berger is the reason he started watching the WNBA. Don't
Well, that's
make any
fair.
snide comments. I like Robert.
I would start watching because of Caitlin Clark, but I also, when I found out she was there, and I'm an IU Hoosier, she's a Hoosier. She wore 34 at IU. I wore 34 at IU. She became my favorite WNBA player, right?
Who scored more points?
I always
you or Grace Berger?
I'm sure she did. She was a big time player for
She might have scored
IU.
in one game more than you scored in your 4
Yeah,
years.
probably. Deservedly so. Mike, I sucked.
You didn't suck, Steve.
Right, well,
don't be so hard on yourself.
I was no Grace Berger. That's fine.
I've watched a couple of games where you played a solid 5 minutes.
All right.
I'm just kidding, Steve. You know I have the utmost respect for you and your talents.
Okay.
All right, guys. We will be back tomorrow with Clemson coach Brad.
Thank you to Robert, to Jay Minton, to Brian, to all you guys that chime in and contribute. There's
Joseph Michael. They let him out of confinement. It's good to see Joseph Michael got out after 20 years.
Good job. He's done police work and he's out doing jaywalking. Citizens arrest. Citizens arrest.
What the fuck is wrong?
Police in Vevey, Indiana.
It's Vevey, Indiana. Okay. I think. I don't know. I don't know why they put Joe. Why did they have an A in Vevey?
Yeah,
that's a good question. Brian Wetters. Terry Moran is a woman. She cannot coach men. There, I said it.
Steve, I would start on today's team. Well, I would start on today's team. I believe that. I'd be a good player on today's team.
Steve, you would start on today's team. No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I would.
Woody don't like you that much. Next up, Harpoon Bakery says, what about Billy Donovan? That is one of the guys we will eventually get to, too. I think Billy Donovan is interesting. Joe doesn't want to know why they call it VV, but they spell it VE.
I've always called it Vive and never been yelled at by anybody but you and Joe.
That's because we're the only people you've ever known that have actually seen, been to, and have heard of.
No, I've been to Vevey, Indiana.
What'd you do in Vevey, Indiana?
I don't know. We went through there to go to Madison or something. My brother went to Hanover College in Madison. Somehow we went through Vevey. I don't know why.
Huh? All right, Jay Minton. Tell us, is this true, Joe? Jay Minton says Vevey shuts the whole town about 6.
Now, hang on, Mike. That was a lore. All little towns in southern Indiana did that on sectional nights or game nights. The whole town would close at 5 o'clock. They'd all be at the high school gym. That was not unusual in southern Indiana.
Because they closed down.
My wife went to high school in Winslow, Indiana. Hell, they would shut down. The Winslow Eskimos.
The Eskimos?
Which became Pike Central.
What I'm trying to figure out is why more and more people keep watching.
Watch.
We're going to have Kim Kardashian on in a little bit, guys. Steve's neighbor. And then we'll have Bruce.
Hey, her mom's house is for sale in Hidden Hills.
You ought to buy it. We'll do the show from there.
I don't quite have $14 million laying around.
You only need the down payment. What's that, like 1?
Yeah, you could be like the rappers. You put it down.
Joseph says VV shuts down at 7. So Jay Minton, you were wrong. It's not 6. It's 7.
But that's when the varsity game usually starts. 7 o'clock. See.
I thought the varsity game usually started at 7:30. Joe was a basketball coach this year. Joe was a basketball coach this year.
A funny story.
He got paid to be a basketball coach, Steve.
My wife was on the booster committee for basketball. My son played at Hamilton Southeastern. And her and another wife,
why did you snort
they ran the concession stand, and they did not know how to use the popcorn machine. And they made the game be postponed, and because they had to evacuate the building because they blew up the popcorn machine, and it got fire in the concession snack bar. It was funny.
I don't know why it's funny. Somebody could have died, Steve, or gotten hurt.
My wife was then banned from the concession stand.
We got Harpoon Bakery. He says, I hope that's not his name. I learned to water ski in the muddy Ohio River waters of VV, Indiana. And I did it like 30 miles north of that.
Oh,
Jay
harpoon.
Benton, I had a friend that lived there. I was there at 7 and wanted to get something to eat, and there were no places to eat.
Harpoon.
You had to go to Madison.
I had 4 buddies, and we all had Mastercraft Pro Star 190s. And we would all haul them down to Dale Hollow Lake and rent a houseboat every third weekend. We would go
Just you
down.
and a bunch of guys?
We had couples, but we had 4 Mastercrafts tied up with 4 couples. Everybody had their own boat. It was so much fun. You'd cut glass at 6 in the morning, and you'd be ripping it and just skiing your brains out. You had blisters on your hands. By 9 o'clock, you were home cooking sausage and eggs. You were done skiing for the day because you couldn't grab the cords anymore. So, and the really fun part was at Dale Hollow, there's no speed limit at night. And the water is like glass. It's a shale bottom lake. It's one of the TVA lakes. Okay. It's not a river fed like Cumberland or Ohio River. So there's no debris. And you would go out at night and you'd open up your Mastercraft. You get those things going. They have a 350 Ford engine in them. You get that thing going about 40, 50 miles an hour across the water. Jeez, what fun that was. That and a bottle of Jack Daniels with you. Playing Inagata de Villa on the radio. It's a wonderful time. Thank you for that memory, Harpoon. I appreciate it. Just brought it back.
Harpoon, thanks for Steve's almost got it.
We ended up all selling our Mastercrafts because mine became a $15,000 driveway cover.
Well, Robert's trying to get us back on task. He says Indiana 72, Penn State 66.
I'll take that. I think that's fair.
Well, I can't take the same thing. I don't want to pick like Robert because that makes me a weak.
I think the game's going to be closer, truthfully.
I think this game is going to be 86-85 and 3 overtimes.
I think it's going to be a closer game than that, really. Truthfully.
It can't be closer to 86-85 and 3.
No, 72-66. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're still back there. You don't ever pay attention to anything I say.
No, I don't believe that.
Joe said, to be fair, there's no place to eat in VB during the day anyway.
You don't have a cafe down on the courtyard square?
Hold on. We got a question for Steve from J Mint. Hey, Steve, ever get to meet John McLaughlin? My half-brother was a cousin of his. Never had met him. No, I've never met John McLaughlin. I met the Van Arsdales, but never John McLaughlin. Joe says that Indiana will win 412, but they're going to beat PSI, whoever that is, but who will only have tire pressure. It's tire pressure. Yeah, I mean, they're going to beat tire pressure. If you got a PSI of 4, you better get the tire barn. Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, no wonder we scored 412 points. PSI's got a flat tire. Jeez. I'll tell you. You know what? Everything on this show was highbrow, going good. What are we doing? We're 57 minutes. Can we get off the air? I got to go wash my car. My truck. Why? It's just probably going to snow again in the next few days. It never snows in California. Oh, I forgot. Is that a song? It never rains in Indiana. Snows in California. Bobby Goldsberg says 78, 74. And then Joe sent us a picture of looks like a anus with the words PSU next to it. Yeah, I think 78, 74. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be tough. It's not going to shock me if Indiana loses this game. If anybody picks the score, Steve will send them an autographed condom. Oh, Steve will not send them an autographed condom. Why do you say crap like that? Well, that's just an autographed picture then. No. At least I didn't think Mick Cronin's name was. Anybody picks the right score, they can come on the air with us for a show. Why would we do that to them? They can take my spot for a show. Oh, that would be fucking amazing. Oh, hell. Did I say that out loud? Say goodbye. Goodbye. All right, guys. You can follow Steve Risley at SRisley34. You can follow me. Joe wants a condom signed by you. Hold on. We got more comments. Harpoon Bakery says, holy crap, Mastercrafts on Dale Hollow sure beats dodging floating driftwood on the Ohio. We tried, we used to go to Thunder on the Ohio, and we used to take the Mastercraft down there, and that was a big hydroplane racing down in Evansville. I'll tell you what, Steve. You know what concerns me and makes me feel bad? When I'm sitting here and I'm
Mastercraft's
tired
not
because
built
we've been
for
on for a
chop.
while and I'm leaning back sitting like this, the sweatshirt's double X. I just feel like a fat ass. And I'm not fat. I don't have a belly, but my shirt makes me feel like a fat ass. I'm sitting here looking at it thinking, man, I need to go walk.
You know what that is? Loose clothing. I wear a lot of loose clothing
Well,
too.
you
and it makes,
have to so you can grow into them.
I've actually lost weight. Okay, I have a foot injury and been down for 5 years with my foot. I've not swung a golf club since August 25th, 2018.
19 what?
2018. 2018. That's the
Okay.
last time I was able to play golf.
Okay.
So I'm trying to heal this.
I think what we need to do is once you get that foot healed, pay-per-view golf be against you.
Okay. I thought we said goodbye.
We did, but then you started talking about Mastercrafts again.
I didn't. Harpoon did. Harpoon Bakery.
All right. We'll be back at 1 o'clock tomorrow for anybody that's bored. We're going to talk about some shit. We'll go from there. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. You can follow Steve Risley at SRisley34. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube. Share it to everybody. Share it to Kent Sterling and Tom Brew and piss them off. But for now, he's Steve Risley. I'm Mike.
Anybody get on a site called Got Woods and share it there.
Oh, yeah. Go to that. Yeah. Go to the.
Don't just save. Go to Got Woodson and share it there.
Hold on. Ryan Kramer says Northern Indiana is more of a Chicago suburb. I don't know if growing up at Valpo brings him to IU. He's a good coach. Doubt he comes to B.
I doubt that he comes either.
And he said, sorry, not sorry. All right. We're going to wrap it up for now. For Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth